A major shift in the weather is taking shape across the United States this May, bringing a mix of spring heat and the growing threat of severe storms. While much of the country will enjoy warmer temperatures, the evolving pattern is setting the stage for active and potentially dangerous weather in the weeks ahead. So, in today's forecast, we are going to break down exactly what you need to know about the weather that'll be impacting the United States over the next couple of weeks. And we'll begin with what's happening across the country today. And right now, we actually have a low-pressure center that is spinning back over in Missouri and Arkansas. A complex and changing weather pattern is unfolding across the U.S. in May. A spring heat wave is expected by mid-next week, especially east of the Rockies, with temperatures possibly 10 to 25 degrees Celsius above average. While severe weather risk is low in the short term, conditions are likely to become more active and potentially dangerous later in May, especially across the Great Plains, Ohio Valley, and Midwest. Multiple low-pressure systems will affect the Gulf Coast and East Coast with scattered storms and heavy rainfall, particularly benefiting drought-stricken Florida. As the jet stream becomes more meridional and storm systems cross the Rockies, the threat of severe storms with all hazards may increase from mid to late May. The setup remains uncertain, but forecasts suggest a prolonged active weather period ahead. And this should lead to at least a little bit more severe weather and flooding rainfall in the southeast over the next few days. But I am concerned by the middle and end of this upcoming week, where we could actually see the return of significant severe weather, as a much more active weather pattern is likely by the middle of May. But even with that happening, we have a low-pressure system back over near the Gulf. And this should lead to at least some isolated severe weather and flooding rainfall across the southeast and along the east coast as we go into this weekend. Now, by early next week, that low-pressure system will weaken as it moves towards the Ohio Valley. But it should continue to bring at least some scattered showers and also colder weather. You'll notice that the GFS model does have this moving across the Rockies, even into the northern plains, which honestly, if we got a storm system this far to the north this time of the year, we don't always see severe weather out of these types of systems, mainly because it requires a very strong moisture pull from the south in addition to also there being no capping. And capping basically means that we have a temperature inversion in the lower half of the atmosphere that would prevent storms from developing. So this is not necessarily a slam dunk for a big severe weather event by the middle of next week. But I do think beyond the middle of next week, we are going to continue to see a very active weather pattern. So even if that storm system doesn't bring significant severe weather, look at our jet stream. By the late weekend and even into the following week, which obviously this is very far out, things could definitely change. But if we see something like this would promote a lot of active weather across the United States and also a bunch of different storm systems impacting the country, especially if we get stuff that goes right over Colorado. Almost every model and ensemble group has been in pretty good agreement that we should see a much more meridional jet stream as we go into the middle and end of May, which would promote a more significant and potentially robust threat of at least active weather across the United States, but if not, at least some level of more significant severe weather. So let's put this into more simplistic terms with the future radar over the next week or two. Beginning with what's happening Friday and Saturday, we are expecting an active weather pattern to continue back along the East Coast. High pressure will start to build back over in the Great Lakes region, which will lead many areas to be dry from Kansas and Oklahoma and Texas all the way back into the Northeast as we go into Sunday. And then by Monday and Tuesday, but still will bring enough moisture for there to be some rainfall along the East Coast. So by late Tuesday and Wednesday, around the 13th and 14th, we do anticipate that storm system will move over the Rockies and could bring the potential for some level of severe weather. But I do think we'll at least see some scattered severe storms in the northern plains and then a highly conditional risk of severe weather in place back over in the central and southern plains. At the minimum though, I do think it'll bring gusty winds and at least some isolated to scattered severe weather Wednesday, Thursday, and Friday. And then eventually by next weekend, this is when things do become a lot more uncertain. So definitely stay weather aware. Parts of Florida are dealing with their worst drought in over 20 years right now. So definitely need rain in some of these areas. Actually, back over near Fort Myers, Florida, it's near about a 10 to 11 inch deficit of rainfall right now. So definitely need rainfall across Florida, but other states along the East Coast will be picking up at least a generous 1 to 2 inches of rainfall, including areas like New England. Now, on the other hand, our temperatures are going to be pretty interesting over the next week or two. We'll continue to have below-average temperatures along the East Coast and in the Southern Plains over the weekend, but above-average temperatures will continue in the Northern Plains, as it's going to be dry and no low-pressure centers anywhere nearby in those areas. But by the middle of next week, I do think almost everyone east of the Rockies will be dealing with some level of above-average temperatures. Some spots could be as much as 10 to 25 degrees. Cold air will start to build along the west coast and in the Rockies by Wednesday as that low-pressure center moves over the Rockies. That should bring at least some colder weather for those areas. This is also going to help to fuel severe weather, I think, for a long period of time. Again, there are going to be some problems, I think, with our severe weather setup on Wednesday and Thursday, but I do think there's a better chance that we'll be seeing at least some more organized potential outbreaks during the weekend and perhaps even into the following week. But obviously, specifics on that are very uncertain as that is still well over 7 days from now. And just a heads up, the risk of severe weather over the next few days will remain low. The Storm Prediction Center has a marginal risk of severe weather in place for Friday, along the Gulf Coast back up into the mid-Atlantic, where isolated damaging winds and hail are possible. Thanks for watching. If you found this update helpful, don't forget to like the video, subscribe to the channel, and hit the bell icon so you never miss a forecast. We'll keep you posted with the latest as this active weather pattern develops. Stay safe, stay weather aware, and we'll see you in the next video.